Okay, thank you very much, and welcome to the December meeting of the Cabinet for the London Borough of Hammersmith and Fulham. My name is Stephen Cowan, I'm the leader of the borough, and I'm going to start by introducing everybody who is here in the Cabinet. Over on my left, over to you, Councillor Holder.
I'm Councillor Sharon Holder, Cabinet Member for Public Realm.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Councillor Wesley Harcourt, Cabinet Member for Climate Change and Ecology.
Hello everyone, Councillor Frances Ume, Cabinet Member for Housing and Homelessness.
Good evening, Councillor Rowenery, Cabinet Member for Finance and Reform.
Good evening, Councillor Alex Anderson, Deputy Leader and responsible for children and education.
Good evening, Councillor Rebecca Harvey, Cabinet Member for Social Inclusion and Community Safety.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Councillor Zarar, Cabinet Member for Enterprise and Skills. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Councillor Bora Kwan, Cabinet Member for Adult Social Care and Health.
Welcome, everybody. We also have Councillor Johnny Alford here. Welcome from the opposition. We have Sharon Lee, who's our Chief Executive, Grant Degg, who's our Director of Legal Services and the Monitoring Officer, and Katia Neal, who's the Committee Coordinator. And this meeting is being live streamed. If you are taking part in it, you are agreeing to having your image reproduced. If your fire alarm goes, please leave by the emergency exits. That's where we get to. I will move in straight to apologies for absence or lateness. And I can tell you that I have Councillor Andrew Jones, who's apologised for lateness and is on his way. Secondly, we have the minutes of the Cabinet meeting held on 4th of November 2024. Has everyone had a chance to look at those minutes? Are they agreed? Agreed. Okay. Declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? Fine. And then the next, we look at the adoption of Hammersmith and Fulham's Council's new Cleaner Action Plan for 2025 to 2030. This is a joint report from Councillor Harcourt and Councillor Holder. And so I will pass over to each of those to introduce the report.
Thank you, Chair. I'll start, and if there's anything that Councillor Holder wants to add at the end, it's fine. I think the reason for this report is that Hammersmith and Fulham ranks, unfortunately, as the 10th worst authority for air pollution in the country. And there's a large number of deaths each year which are directly related to toxic air, something like 7.6% of those. And there's none of the actual borough that meets the World Health Organization air quality targets. Because for that sort of reason, we're part of an air quality action management area. And as such, there's a statutory duty on us to produce an air quality action plan. The plan itself is quite technical. You'll see it is not necessarily easily accessible or understandable, but that's because it's a template that we have to use because it's a statutory document. It's important not just because in terms of health, but it's also in terms of equalities, because some of the most vulnerable people live in the worst areas for air quality, and their health is obviously very adversely affected. The plan is there for you to see. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer those, and I'll hand over to Sharon Holder if there's anything you want to add.
Councillor Holder?
No, I don't think there's anything I want to add.
Okay, right. Any questions on this?
I suppose I have one very general question that I appreciate that we have to have this and it's statutory and everything, but I do hope people will consider the impact of certain of the suggestions may have on residents, because while we all would like people to be fitter, healthier, walking everywhere, it isn't always possible. And we don't want to continually penalise people because they drive cars, because they have to get about. So I hope that there will be some tolerance for motorists, and perhaps, this is a particular bugbear of mine, is that while I'm sure we're all encouraging every sort of bike, could we please do something about the indiscipline of e-bikes?
Okay, quite a lot to unpack there, Councillor Alford, but thank you for your contribution. Is there a question you'd like to ask?
I suppose, really, how are you going to make sure that with your particularly doing things to do with the parking and trying to educate people not to park and things, that you are going to consult with the local neighbourhoods and not inflict things on them rather than bring them in that suits everybody. Or you will never suit everybody, but that it isn't one stream doing it.
Okay, thank you.
Is that-
Look, can I, thank you very much. Can I confirm consulting with residents is the key thing that we do? We've introduced one cleaner neighbourhood in South Fulham. What I found interesting when I met with a number of residents, this is the first time I'd met them, is when they'd initially come to the council to complain about the cleaner neighbourhood. And I then met them as advocates for the cleaner neighbourhood. And I asked some of them what had led them to be, to change their views. And I was pleased to hear they'd looked at the evidence and we'd consulted extensively. So to me, that's the essence of consultation. It is trying to understand what people's concerns are, taking reasonable measures to address those concerns, but also it's a two-way process where you openly share the data and information that you're working off and use that data to hopefully come to a new consensus. Certainly in South Fulham, which was where we introduced it, it's been hugely popular. It's hugely popular. And hold on, there's a due process I would remind you on. This is not a it's not a saloon bar. It's a cabinet meeting. So we will I'm happy to call you again. So we have consulted extensively, and it is extremely popular in South Fulham. Indeed, you know, I was very surprised to see some of the people who objected at former councillor Ben Coleman's victory party when he became the MP. And I asked them what they were doing here, and they said his consultation with them had been so extensive that they decided he was the right person for them because they loved the cleaner neighbourhood so much. So it can be controversial, and I was very surprised to meet these people, because the first time I'd met them, they'd come to object. But it does show that when people are prepared to openly, without prejudice, look at the data and work with us on these things, that it is compelling. I think the figure from memory is, and Councillor Hart might correct me, is 78 people die each year, is that right? 7.6%, and I'm not sure how that translates. Right. Okay. So 7.6% of deaths are contributed to bad air quality. Part of Hammersmith and Fulham is at the bottom of the London Basin, the Thames Valley, and so smog and pollution sits in it, and it is particularly bad for people for a variety of diseases. What we know about poisonous air is it causes Alzheimer's. It causes strokes. It's a root cause of heart disease, of different types of cancers. It affects child organ development. It influences child brain development. So it's pernicious. And obviously, as a public authority, when I meet with our health authorities, they do urge us to act on it because they're obviously dealing with the consequence. So if you want people to have better health, we need healthier environments. And this sort of sets out how we will get there. But you're quite right, Councillor Alford, to raise the point that it can be controversial. Any form of change is controversial. And there are certainly people who've lived a life for a certain time with certain routines that relies on the way they move about the city. And changing that a little bit can be daunting for them. And what we have to do is to make sure we change it in such a way that it's easy for them. So we will endeavour to do that, but it is only right that we make Hammersmith and Fulham a cleaner and better and safer place for everyone to live in.
I'm allowed to. I think that perhaps you and I have slightly different perspectives on certain areas. I'll leave it at that. I don't wish to enter a bar-room brawl, which is something I have never done.
Okay, well that's a relief. Thank you, Councillor Alford. Is that item agreed? Agreed. All right, good. So there we are. Adoption of Hammersmith Fulham's Council's new air quality item number 4. The next is item number 5, gas and ancillaries term service contract for housing. Councillor Umey?
Thank you, Leader. So we want our residents to live in homes that are decent and safe, and of course the provision of gas, heating and hot water for our residents is an essential part of this, and it's also fundamental to the service that the council provides, and it's also essential for building safety compliance. And so with this in mind, the current contract that we have with Morgan Sindall is coming to an end at the end of July in 2025. So this paper seeks approval to re-procure a new contract. So in essence, it's a procurement strategy that will start at the end of that contract in July 2025.
Great. Well, very straightforward. Councillor Holford?
I'm not sure if I can ask this question, so I'm going to be careful how I put it. I'm all in favour of the re-procurement, so that is not a problem. But will the current contractor be encouraged to bid, or will you be looking elsewhere? Is that a question I can ask?
I would probably advise not to ask that question because the tendering, as you will.
I know, but what I am,
the procurement process is.
I know, but what I'm trying to see is, are we going to be sure that, how can I put it, that we do get a good contractor as opposed to having bear in mind we've had problems with contractors?
I think everyone in the room can sense the sentiment that you're trying to express. All I can assure you is that the national legislation on procurement
I understand
will be followed very clearly.
I was not suggesting you weren't, but what I'm trying to say is, as tactfully as I can, I think we all probably agree with what I'm trying to make sure.
I can't agree or disagree with what you've said. What I think everyone in the room has noted it, and what I can assure you is that the procurement process will be followed religiously, and we will seek the highest standards for our residents. Okay, if there's nothing else, is that item agreed? Agreed. Thank you. That takes us nicely to our very own Councillor Rowan Ree, who will talk about the revenue budget review.
Thank you very much. Yes, this is one of our periodic reviews of the 2024-2025 revenue budget. This one looking at the budget as of month 6. The report asks to note any variances and movements.
Any questions on this? Is this item agreed? Oh, sorry, you.
It's my usual question. We could almost take it as read. Is how is the HRA, and are you sure it's going to balance, and that there will be? That's.
I'll give my usual answer.
Keep on trying to reassure me, but.
I'll give my usual answer to your usual question. Yeah, we're very pleased that we were able to eliminate the structural deficit in the HRA. We are working to make sure that the budget balances and that all the money is spent exactly where it should be, which is what it's for.
If there's nothing else, I will ask, is that item agreed? Agreed. It's unanimous again. And sticking with Councillor Ree, we have the capital programme monitor and budget variations for 2024-2025, quarter 2.
Thank you very much. Again, this is another budget monitoring report, this time looking at the capital programme as of the second quarter of the year. Again, this report asks to note any variances and movements.
Is that item agreed? Thank you. Item number 8, LBHF companies update.
Thank you very much. So this report provides an update on the Council's 3 active limited companies and the 2 joint ventures of which it's part. This is part of a biannual report that we bring to Cabinet now that the Commercial Revenue Committee has been disbanded.
Any questions? In which case, is it agreed? Agreed. And that takes us finally then to item number 9.
Thank you very much. This is the last one from me. I'll shut up after this. So this is the advertising hoardings report. So the council generates a certain amount of revenue from digital advertising hoardings across the borough. This report provides an update on the existing sites, although we are always on the lookout for more opportunities to generate revenue. Any
questions? Is that item agreed? So that leads me to the forward plan. Can people please note the forward plan? All right. And in which case, that brings us to the end of the meeting. Can I finish, first of all, by saying to everybody, thank you if you have tuned in for our 2024. It is very good of you to take such an interest in the municipal governance of our borough. And can I thank Councillor Alford, who has been at every single meeting, I think. And well, yeah, that's a shame.
I think I've won when I was ill, but I think.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but can I thank you for taking up the trouble to turn up and offer your scrutiny? It is much appreciated, and it is very different to what went before, but it is very welcome. And can I thank everyone in the Cabinet and our officers for the work they have done to deliver a stronger, safer, kinder Hammersmith and Fulham, and wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and the very best for 2025. Good night.